Good evening, members. On behalf of Ladies Study Group, I would first like to wish you all a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi and to welcome you all to a very, very special webinar today. India is a beautifully diverse country. We have 1.4 billion inhabitants and we share thousands of years of history, speak 19,000 mother tongues, and express life and culture through a stunning array of food, dance, ceremony, faith, music, and literature. It is therefore perhaps no surprise that a country like ours holds storytelling so close to its soul, and nowhere is this better expressed than through our cinema and Bollywood. It is safe to say that cinema is our national pastime, and for most of us, movies are a very important part of our lives. Movies affect us powerfully because the combined impact of images, music, dialogue, lighting, sound, and special effects can elicit deep feelings and help us reflect on our lives and the lives of those around us, and on how society and culture operate. And so, to understand this synergy that exists between this creativity and its master, I am so honored to welcome Ace Director and Padma Shri, Mr. Shekhar Kapur, to our screens.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, welcome, Shekhar, and thank you so much for doing this for us. I know you're up in the mountains in the Uttarakhand, and I know you have your connectivity issues, and it's so nice of you to, sort it all out and be here with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Shekhar Kapur's Instagram handle says, "It's the picture that captures you and not the other way around." Known for making movies with intelligent narratives and nuanced performances, Shekhar Kapur is a globally recognized film director, media visionary, and proponent on the future of new media. He is known for his films such as the cult Masoom, the iconic Mr. India, the 7 times Oscar-nominated Elizabeth, Elizabeth the Golden Age, Bandit Queen, Four Feathers, and more. His films have won or been nominated for numerous awards, including the Oscars, the BAFTA, Filmfare Awards, amongst others. He has executive produced the Bollywood-themed Andrew Lloyd Webber musical Mumbai Dreams, as well as films such as The Guru for Universal Studios. He set up Virgin Comics and Virgin Animation with Richard Branson and Deepak Chopra. He also sits on a number of boards and advisory committees. He was given one of India's highest civilian state awards, the Padma Shri, for his service to media in the nation. I would now like to welcome Shekhar Kapur's younger sister and our moderator for today, Sohaila Kapur, to our screens. I'm sorry about that.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, Sohaila. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Writer, playwright, actress, director, television producer, Sohaila Kapur dons several roles simultaneously, while continually adding to her experience as a jury member for the National Television Awards. After pursuing a master's degree in political science, she went on to become a journalist. The 90s saw her return to the theatre, with her becoming a stage director and playwright. She wrote a musical, Ye Hai Mumbai Meri Jaan, which was the first one marrying Bollywood to the stage and opened at the Edinburgh Fringe. And we have all watched her recently perfectly essay the role of Sushmita Sen's mother, Rajeshwari, in the super successful web series Arya. So, Shekhar and Sohaila, I believe this is a first for both of you, the first time that you both are on screen together. And we have you, Shekhar, being interviewed by your own baby sister. So can we know a little more about your journey growing up? How was it growing up together? Do share some light, Shekhar.
I was the bully. All older brothers are. And I was probably more of a bully than actually I realized I was. At that time, it sounded like a lot of fun. But it probably left Sohaila a little bit scarred, the bullying. But I think all elder brothers do that. Not all, but It's a very Indian thing, also the family thing, to bully the younger sister. It used to give me great pleasure. Did not give her any pleasure, I'm pretty sure. But there it was. That's it was. I was a bully.
No, it's the first time you're confessing it, and I accept it. Yeah, but I was I used to be hurt at that point, but later when I go back to those incidents, I enjoy them actually. I have a good laugh. Sometimes I share them, on the family group, and he has a laugh also, and so does everybody else.
Oh.
It's all part of growing up. It also maybe toughened me a bit, and it certainly made him an idol for me. I don't know why bullying does this, bullying by older brothers, but I started looking up to him. I started resenting him and looking up to him. Both the contradictory things happened together. And soon there came a time when I just wanted to be like him, you know. And of course, the bully in him said, "Why do you have to keep following me? Why do you have to do things that I'm doing all the time?" Till very recently. And I said, "Am I something like that, like I did 100 years ago? Or maybe I am. It's a habit." So then I chucked it after a while. And after I had my own achievements, I did, I chucked it, hopefully, for good. But it just shows the impact he had on me as an older brother. And the bully, yes, it had its positive aspects too.
So I'm going to leave it to you now, Sohaila, to take it from here.
Yeah. Bhaiya, I'm going to call you Bhaiya because my mother taught me always. I remember as a kid calling him Shekhar once, and I got it from my mother. She said, "You never call your older brother by his name." And that thing stuck till now. So even now, I call him Bhaiya. It's very difficult for me to call him Shekhar. When people say, "We want to talk to Shekhar, can you?" And I have to formally sort of speak to him, which is, one of those rare incidents. Then I say Shekhar, and it's like I've got marbles in my mouth. I feel like saying Bhaiya. Anyway, I've often wondered what made you decide to drop that education as a chartered accountant, and you at 27, I remember, you were the youngest partner of a British firm, Needham and Company, I remember. What made you give that up and a hugely bright future? You had a beautiful British model as a girlfriend, I remember. What made you come back and decide to drop it all and join films? I don't think I saw you reading a single book on films or even watching movies with us. I was the one who's fond of movies, not you.
I was 24 actually, not 27.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never made a decision in my life. When I left, I decided that there was one word I was going to take out of my life, and that word was called career. I think I resented the idea of this middle class idea that every young Indian middle class boy has to be an engineer or doctor or an accountant. It didn't mean anything to me, right? And I couldn't see me as the rest of my life as an accountant. So I decided that I was going to go on a life of adventure. The decision was not to join films. The decision was to go out in exploration of myself. Now, if you'd asked me at 24, can you explain it? I can explain it now. But at 24, I was just looking for adventure. I left and I started to roam the world looking for adventure, and I fell into movies. That's so you're right. I had no interest. I mean, I like movies, but my first film was film. I'd never been an assistant director. I'd never studied a book on filming. I'd never been to a studio. I'd never been to an editing studio. I'd never done anything. I just said,
No.
that's interesting. I'll make a movie. Like a lot of other things that I do, they just come across me and I do them. So there's never been a decision to make films. It just happened.
Is it
Everything in my
like a
life.
is it like a download that just comes? It's like musicians when they compose. They don't know how it happened.
Yeah, I think that we need to get into a more serious discussion about what time it is. Is it more linear or is it circular or is it the same thing? Is time, does it even exist? So, yes, a decision comes and a decision is downloaded. And what you do is you open yourself up to a path, an unknown path. You keep walking this unknown path wherever you go, and you walk the path that you walk. There's been no idea that I'm going to walk that path. And if you just allow yourself to be completely vulnerable, vulnerability is the key. You're an adventurer, you have to be tough, but you have to be so vulnerable. You have to be so vulnerable to understand where the moment is taking you, to experience where, not even understand, that's the wrong word. The word is experience. Experience where the next step is taking you and observe the next step. And somehow, I've always done that. Just experience the next step and then fallen into doing something. So when people say, आपने इतनी कम फिल्में क्यों बनाई है? मैंने कहा बनाई तो सही. You know what I mean? अभी तो वैसे अगर उस तरफ नहीं जाता तो बनाता नहीं. So it's always been just trying to experience being in the moment, the moment. But even the moment is wrong because even moment is a measure of time. So really, it's a cliche now, but to be in the now because now is not a measure of time. Because by the time I've made this statement to you, the now is gone. You know, so it's just to be in the now, all the every now be in the now. I was going to say every moment be in the now, but then again, I'm using a measure of time when I say a moment. So that's been the journey. And
You talked about vulnerability. You had quite a struggle. You know, you came
yeah,
here, you wanted to be good looking. You had Dev uncle, who was our maternal uncle, who promised you a break and said, "You're a good looking guy, I'll give you a break." In my film, which was Ish, 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 things didn't work out as an actor. Were you vulnerable at that time to hurt and to the fact that you may have joined the wrong profession? Did you ever feel that?
I didn't come here to be an actor, so I didn't
Oh,
join a profession. You know,
okay.
I was just carried by that moment, and I did it.
Yeah, because
Of
he
course, you
offered it
get
to you.
hurt. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, no, it just happened. You know, he offered. I was there. I had a big crush on Zenith Aman, so I did it. You know what I mean? It was my uncle. Yeah. So, what is? I'm not. Um, I'm looking back. Of course, if you're vulnerable, you're going to get hurt. You know, the fear of getting hurt is one of the biggest challenges that people face when they are making, life decisions. They just you have to be okay to get hurt. It's part of being alive. It's part. Your heart gets hurt, but there's a difference between being hurt in the mind and being hurt in the heart. You know, and being hurt in the mind is ego. Being hurt in the heart is life. You know what I mean? So there's a difference. And I used to get hurt in the heart, and I still get hurt in the heart all the time. And I try to keep it away from my ego because we have creative egos and personal egos. Creative egos belong to the heart, personal ego belongs to the mind. And I think that what I've been able to do is stay away from my mind too much all my life. Right. And that's to me, if I look back, has been what my life has been like is mindless in a way. And it's just, yeah, I got hurt. I keep getting hurt. I still get hurt all the time. It's fine. It's fine. If you don't accept being hurt, you won't do anything. You won't take any challenges. You won't go on an adventure. You won't fall in love.
Yeah.
Most people will come to me and say, "Oh, I don't want to fall in love. I don't really want to express my love because I might get hurt." So I'm asking them, what is getting hurt? What is getting hurt? When you don't express your love, your heart is hurting more than if you get hurt because because it falls apart. It's the mind. It's the ego of rejection. It's the fear of rejection. You have to get over the fear of rejection. You have to get over the fear of failure. Failure and rejection are part of achievement and glory. They're all part of the same thing, right? You can't go on being glorious all the time. You can't be all, look, I'm successful. Then you ask yourself, well, what do you mean by this keyword called successful? What does that mean? It means that I'm looking at myself reflected off other people's eyes. And that's a mind game. The heart game is whatever is will go and whatever is not will come. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, why did you decide to do Masoom?
I didn't decide, it happened. I was, see, it just, I was going to do a film. I had a financier who said, I think you'll make a good director. I said, okay, I'll do it. And we had another story in mind. I went to the financer's house. The producer took me there, David, and I decided to narrate him the story. and I saw him yawn. And like, yes, like Krishna's mother saw in Krishna's mouth as Krishna yawned the whole universe, I saw in his mouth the end of my career that hadn't started. I saw boredom as he yawned, and it suddenly changed the story. I just in the midway started to tell a different story that I had not thought of. I saw a lot of kids' photographs on his shelf. And about 6 months ago, I had read this book called Man, Woman, and Child. And I don't know why, something connected. And I started to narrate a different story that I had not even thought of to him. And he said, "Ye to bahut achhi kahani hai, ye banate hain." And my producer was kicking me under the table because the producer didn't know what I was saying. But what the producer didn't know is I didn't know what I was saying. That's what I mean. It happened. It just happened. It was just at that moment I told the story and he loved it and the Masu was made.
And the rest
So
is history.
the rest is history, yeah. Or not.
How much? Yeah.
No,
How
it's
much of the
only, I tell you
films?
why it's not,
Yeah.
Sohaila, because there is no art that ever gets completed. There's nothing
There's no.
historical art that
Hmm.
ever gets completed. There are no full stops in any art. So you see a film, you'll see Masoom today, somebody will see it and they'll take Masoom forward because it goes forward in their subconscious, in their mind. So why do we say that ऐसा film बन गई खत्म हो गई खत्म तो कुछ भी नहीं होता. No art actually finishes. There are no full stops in art. I see
Strange you say that. Yeah.
yeah.
Because Stanislavski said the same thing, that there's no end to art. It's a continuity. You
Yeah.
keep learning.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He's right then. He's absolutely right. So Van Gogh
As
made a
you were.
painting called Starry
Hmm.
Nights, which is my favorite paintings. Every time I see even a picture on the internet of Starry Nights, I'm taking it forward. So it was maybe painted by him, but it continues in people's subconscious, and each one is interpreting it differently and differently and differently. We've only thought of ends now because of something called the Gutenberg Press. Mahabharat was being told, before it was published, there must be a million versions of Mahabharat. Each one Mahabharat. Each one being told and being told and retold and retold, and everybody else going home with different stories. I remember our grandmother, Mataji, used to tell us stories.
Yeah.
And then those stories became different beings in our minds, in our hearts. Now I can't even remember. Yeah, I remember her telling me the story, but I don't remember the story was because I owned it and I took it forward. So there was no end to the story ever. There's no end to any story.
So how much of Masoom was autobiographical? Your childhood, maybe? I saw bits of the relationship between daddy and you, in the relationship between the child and his father, played by Nazir.
Um, yeah,
Is
my
it
my relationship was
hiking,
about
climbing mountains? Yeah.
yeah, because my dad used to take me there, and I always wondered when he used to take me there that what if I have a son? How would I respond? So a lot of that came in between Nasir and Jugal Hansraj. This idea of how would I play if I had a son? Then of course the two daughters were. I was from modern school, so you saw they were wearing modern school uniforms. And I remember these lines, these vegetables that I used to hate as a kid, and all kids hated. So I turned them into abuses. You could do, you tip, you alu, you could do, you bangan. So these are little things that come to your mind as you're writing a script, and or as you're getting actors to perform, and so you flow out to the actors, and the actors flow back to you. You don't tell the actors what to do. In fact, I remember Masoom is I would allow the children to play and say things, and I would film what they were doing. That was it.
Mr. India, did you never feel or were you never told that this is a fantastic idea that will never work in India?
All the time. All the time, I was told
It's
that.
unusual for its time. It's unusual even today.
Yeah. All the time, I was being told, "You look pagal ho gaye." ये पागल हो गया तूने. He used to tell Boni Kapoor, "तू पागल हो गया तूने डायरेक्टर शेखर कपूर के लिए उसने दूसरे मासूम किया है तू ये क्या कर रहा है?" But I just made Mr. India because I was playing. And so it looks like play. I was just playing. With every film, I do remember that with every film that I do, I become a personality. I'm the character. When I'm doing Mogambo, I'm Mogambo. When I'm doing Masoom, I'm Nasir. I'm also Jugal. I'm also Kate Blanchett, Because how else do I find a character unless a character exists inside me? So all the characters I've done exist inside me, and I just allow them to come out. But Mr. India was a lot of play. I remember there was this little 11-year-old kid sitting next to me, uh, who was me, my mini me. And each time I would take a shot, I would kind of ask him, "Kaisa tha? Arey, bahut boring tha yaar. Tu to budha ho gaya." So I would change the shot. So there was this constant conversation going on because I wanted to play. Yeah. So we played. And I think that's
Okay.
why the film is still fresh. It looks like people were playing. And that's the idea because we were playing, that play keeps going forward. And that's why Mr. India is one of the most constantly watched films on television. Again and again, people watch it because it reminds you of play when you were a child.
Also, video games today.
Yeah,
I find it a lot like a video game today.
yeah, yeah. A lot of that, yes.
Okay, you had two successes behind you, and then why did you opt for Bandit Queen? You didn't make another Bollywood film.
I
Bandit
was,
Queen was a cross between the British company and it was produced by a British company, Channel 4,
yeah, it was funded by Channel 4.
funded by them. Yeah.
I was doing another film that I was being told by the producers how to shoot it, what to do, and I was thinking, oh, I don't want to do that. And I was first, then when I was offered this film, it was offered to me as a docudrama. I said, I don't know how to make a docudrama. I'll just make a feature. They said, fine, if you can do it. So it was quite low budget. And we went along and we made the film again. I think that recently somebody wanted me to do a commentary on Bandit Queen. And I saw the film again to do the commentary or write something. And I came out, my assistants found me crying. And they asked me, so why am I crying? And I said, I don't think I'll ever make a film like this again. Because that was me then. And I thought it was such an honest film. But it was, who was the filmmaker? I couldn't understand who the filmmaker was. Often you can't. You're not there. You disappeared. You're not in the frame. You've disappeared. And that man that made Bandit Queen and the man that was watching and sobbing for himself, that was me after the film saying, I wonder if I'll ever make a film like this. I would like to, but who was I? So everything conspired in the universe to come together to make these films. And I was part of the conspiracy of the universe. I wasn't the filmmaker. I was a conspiracy of the universe in everything that I've ever done. It's a conspiracy of the universe. And I accept that. I accept to be part of the conspiracy of the universe.
Was Elizabeth also part of the conspiracy of the universe? When you introduced Kate Blanchett, who was in a, little known film called Oscar and Lucinda, if I'm not mistaken, an Australian film. And you decided to give her the role of this glamorous and hugely important queen for Britain. How did you decide that?
I knew that there was something that I was looking for, that the actor had to have a sense of the now and a sense of the past and a sense of being of the earth and of the spirit, because that was the journey of the actor. And I was kept looking for that. And I almost got fired of the film because I wouldn't decide on the actor. I wouldn't decide on the production designer, because I knew I didn't want the world to look like that world. I wanted the world to look like the world of the story that I'm telling. I wasn't even telling the story for Elizabeth. I was adapting the story for Elizabeth to to me, what was the biggest, most important thing at that time is, why do women have to declare themselves virgins to have power? That was, to me, yeah, that was to me the most important thing of the film. Why did Elizabeth have to say, I'm the virgin queen? And how do you know? How did she know that she was a virgin? How does the history know? So I played the history and said she wasn't a virgin at all. She was actually used virginity to get power over men. And I was quite influenced by this thought of why men dress like men and why women had to. I know they don't now, but at that time, why they had to dress like men to become powerful women. And so when I saw Kate Blanchett, I knew that was the girl. If you had asked me at that time, why do you know? I said, I just know. I've just seen everything. And it was a fight. It was my first film outside India, my first film in the English language. I'd never spent more than $500,000 or something in a film, even less. This was $25 million, and I didn't even know how to spend $25 million. I never seen $25 million. So they wanted a star, and I said, I was told by my agent that if you keep insisting on an unknown girl, nobody knew who Kate Blanchett was. If I
Yes.
keep insisting on an unknown girl, then you'll probably get fired. They'll take another director. So I got scared for like one evening. I woke up in the morning and I asked myself, is Kate Blanchett in your destiny or is she not in your destiny? I'll have to ask the universe. And the universe conspired to tell me that she is. So I called my agent and said, okay, let them fire me. I'm going to insist on Kate Blanchett. And that's been my life.
And she
You
became a
said,
star after that. She's doing
yeah,
very well even now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, huge. She's still a huge star.
She's a huge star. It was after Elizabeth.
Yeah,
She got nominated both times for both Elizabeths, right?
yeah, yeah. She just got the Emmy, or right now, a few days ago, for Mrs. America, or Mrs. America.
Captain America.
No, no, Mrs. America is a series.
Okay.
Or
Right. Okay. Now, although it was critically acclaimed, it was nominated for 7 Oscars. There was a criticism abroad in America, no, in Britain, I think, that you Indianize the sentiments in that film. That there was a bit of Bollywood in that Hollywood film. So, how did you tackle that?
well, I remember New York Times said, "Oh, it's like an MTV film," and I took that as a great. I didn't even realize there was a criticism. It wasn't Indianized; it was Easternized. You know, it looked like a Eastern Chinese or a Eastern film or a Japanese or an Indian film. I didn't Bollywoodize it. But then, who am I? How could I make a completely Western film? I'm not Western. I wouldn't know how to do it. You know. So it turned out to be an Eastern film, but I think that the success of the film was because I didn't try and make it into a British film, a British film, and I actually resisted trying to Elizabeth. I said no, 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 and somehow it just happened that I did it because I didn't know how to make a historical. I knew nothing about Elizabeth when I said ultimately started on it. Kate Blanchett knew more. Every actor of mine knew more about Elizabeth than I did. I just wanted to tell a different story that resonated with me.
So, how did they come back to you again and say, now you can make Elizabeth II, Golden Age?
Well, because I made the first one. And I resisted making the second one too. Then my agent said, come on. And everybody said, let's do it. I said, okay, let's do it. There's no, in my life, there's never been this firm, let's do this. And I fought. I
Yeah.
fought once the film came on. And the only film I fought for a long time is Pani. And it's not being made. Maybe I am fighting too hard, but that's because I think we are, as far as water is concerned, we've passed the danger zone. And I had started to study environment along about 20 years ago. And then I soon realized that actually the biggest issue in the world is water. And I started to examine it. In fact, the reason I'm in Uttarakhand now is because I had gone to Milam Glacier in a place called Munsiari. It's one of the largest glaciers that are still in India, and fast retreating glacier. And I decided that I would go on a trip photographing glaciers because from 20 years before to now, they've gone. I wanted to record all the glaciers. So 20 years from now, people can see how the glaciers have all retreated. And I was trying to tell people this is happening. And then I became a big water advocate, and I didn't know how to get through to people. And I remember I was in one seminar, and I said, "Aapko pata hai ki ek din Ganga nahi bahegi?" And that got everybody's attention. What do you mean Ganga nahi bahegi? So ya सूखी रहेगी या बाढ़ होगी, बाढ़ में होगी. Then everybody stood up, and then I talked to them about glaciers. So I realized that actually I have to tell the story and make awareness about water through mythological means. And then I started to write it. Yeah, it was quite fascinating to write this story of water in the future. But it's not just about water, it's the way of our world. Ultimately, Pani is about a world in the future where water becomes a social and a political weapon, and people control others. People who have water control those that don't, and only 10% people have the power of water. So it's also democracy. Is अच्छा हम आपको पानी देंगे आप हमें वोट दो. So I was dealing with that kind of world.
Why did the film never get made?
Who knows? I don't know. When
It
it
might
gets
still
there,
in the future, right?
might still tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know what the future is, but it might
Okay.
get worse. But the people that I was making the film for, ultimately, I realized it, and they realized that we were thinking completely differently. What cinema is to them and to me, it's a different thing. What it was not my creative endeavor anymore. It was their creative endeavor or their business endeavor. So I just, it's okay. One day it'll come back to me.
So what are the future plans? What are you working on now?
I don't know. I work on 25 things at the same time. One of them will happen.
So what are you doing in Uttarakhand? You've been there for many months, ever since the lockdown.
Yeah, I'm here waiting for the lockdown to end. And of course, COVID has changed everybody's world. But I came here to Munsiari to photograph the glaciers, to trek to the glaciers and start photographing them. And then the lockdown happened. And then, yeah, I've been here since the lockdown, waiting for things to ease out, deciding where my next film is going to be or where my next project is going to be. And it might be in London, it might be in the US. So where to fly to? I don't think it'll be the US now. But if it's in London, then I have to go to London. If it's in Bombay, I have to go to Bombay. If it's in Delhi, I have to go to Delhi. So
Are
this
you
is
more
a.
spiritual? Yeah. Are you a
So
more
go.
spiritual person today than you were maybe a decade ago?
All right, Sheila,
What
do
is
you remember?
spiritualism to you? That's what I mean.
I think the biggest danger is that when people turn spirituality into intellectuality, that's dangerous and that's a lie. Anybody who says to you, I know, is lying to you. The only truth in this world, in this whole vast cosmos system and in our existence, the only three true words that I don't know. There's the only truth of life, of creativity, of existence, of spirituality. I don't know. But I'm in what I call not on the journey to discover, because that itself becomes like, oh, I'm in the journey to discover. I'm in yearning. I'm constantly in yearning, and I have been since I was 11. You remember in Nizamuddin, you were very young. We used to sleep in somewhere on the kota,
Get bunkers. Oh, on the coat, on the terrace. That's right.
on the terrace,
Yeah, yeah.
and at
In the
night you look at
summers.
yeah. If you at that time in Delhi, the skies were clean. There was no dust pollution. There was no noise pollution. There was no light pollution. And I used to look out onto the stars, and I could see the Milky Way at that time. From that at night, you're staring at the Milky Way, you're staring at the stars, and I kept wondering how far it goes. How far does this go? How far does this go? How far does it go? And we were just learning physics in school, and school was teaching us that for anything to be something, it has to be measurable. That's the first thing you tell you in physics: length, breadth, height, this, everything, gravity. Everything is a measure. So I remember asking mom, "Mom, ये कहाँ तक जाता है?" And she said, "Beta, it goes on forever." मैं रात रात सोता नहीं था, रोता था कि ये forever है क्या चीज? ये forever, what is forever? And how come I'm being told that everything, if it exists, it has to be measurable, and I can't measure forever? Now, over time, so it started then when I was 11. That's where I made my first story. कि अब अगर forever नहीं है तो फिर एक एक्समैन है, वो पेड़ तोड़ रहा है, वो एक्स के कोने में एक गैलेक्सी है, उस गैलेक्सी के अंदर एक है और अर्थ है, अर्थ के अंदर दिल्ली है, दिल्ली के अंदर एक कोठा है, कोठे में एक चारपाई है, चारपाई पे मैं बैठा हूँ सोच रहा हूँ ये forever क्या है, लेकिन मेरे अंदर भी चारपाई में एक और यूनिवर्स है. तो ऐसी कहानियां बताता रहता था, बोलता रहता था. Ultimately, I now realized I was telling stories about the unity of all eternity. I didn't realize it then. So right now, I'm still that kid in search of forever. Now, I wouldn't say I'm in search. I would take the word search out, I would say I'm in yearning. Like how you're in yearning for love, you're in yearning for creativity. Creativity is also a yearning. Everything's a yearning. And when the yearning stops, you're dead. Your mind dies, your heart dies. You know, so the yearning keeps going. So कहते हैं, अरे I fall in love, I found the answer. अरे भाई, if you found the answer and तुम लोगों को बता रहे हो I found the answer, तो फिर तो what are you yearning for? And how do you know the answer? You know, तुम कह रहे हो I know, ठीक है, अब फिर खत्म करो ना, मर जाओ, जिंदगी खत्म हो गई, अब तो सब कुछ तुम्हें पता है if you know that. So, yearning, yearning, and more yearning, and constant yearning, and forever yearning, forever, whatever forever is in yearning is basically who I am.
What have the Himalayas taught you?
I think that there's places that have an energy. You know, sometimes it's perceived energy. I perceive the energy and I impose that energy on those places. Sometimes I feel that I'm at a place which has a fundamental energy. And that energy may be the unity of the universe. अब मैं आपको बताता हूँ, अभी मैं यहाँ भीमताल में, तो मुझे इतना मालूम है कि मैंने भीमताल में जिस घर में मैं हूँ, अब देखो सर्कुलैरिटी कैसे चलती है. The house I'm in is a house that I came to look for locations during Masoom. And I was on my
During
way to Delhi
Masoom.
during Masoom, and I thought, so let's. And then I met one of the family, daughter of, now probably she was not even born when I was there. Right? She said, "You're very famous in my family." I said, "How?" And she said, "You came to this house, look for locations, and then you went swimming with one of the young girls from the family in the lake, and they had to come with guns looking for you." Now, of course, I said, "Well, why did you look for guns?" And she laughed, and I said, "Listen, because there's a lot of leopards in this area. They must have come to see if we're okay." But that's the house I'm in. They run a homestay here, you know. And then the other day, I went for a long walk. I was walking and walking, and somebody said, "Go see that lake at Sattar." So I kept walking. On the way, I saw a small lake, and I was very attracted to that lake. But उसके लिए बहुत नीचे जाना था. I'm not as, I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not 70s. I said, chalo, because going down too fast is a big pressure on your legs and knees and things. But I went. I said, it was a beautiful lake. And I said, chalo, us taraf jata hun. So I walked around the lake and I came to the other side of the lake and I knew that that place was calling me. I had no idea why. Why am I here? Why am I coming here? Why am I coming here? And suddenly dawned on me. यहाँ से तो मैंने मासूम का शॉट किया था. जिन्होंने लोगों ने मासूम देखी है वहाँ जहाँ वो नसीर और जुगल हंसराज बैठे कैंपिंग कर रहे हैं, that was a place.
I remember that shot.
Yeah. तो मैंने सोचा कि ये जगह मुझे क्यों बुला रही है, लेकिन बुला रही है. अब मैं इसको ज्यादा रीजनेबल बोलूंगा तो सब कहेंगे अच्छा कोई स्पिरिचुअल बात है. मैं कहता हूँ नहीं, कुछ कॉस्मिक बात है, ऐसी कुछ हुआ, हो गया. पर वो जगह मैंने it was calling me, the energies were calling me. So sometimes the energy, the play of energies and the pull and push and pull of energy and destiny, whatever destiny is. My daughter Kaveri, why am I telling you? She and I had a big call, chat the other day. She's 19, 18, 19, when she was saying, "Dad, what's destiny?" And I said, "I don't know. But if you accept destiny, you have to accept that there's linearity in time. But maybe everything is happening in the same moment. Maybe all of time is not existent. Maybe time is just in our imagination, which even science is saying now, that the future affects the present. How could the future affect the present unless the present and the future are the same? And if you read quantum physics, you realize that they've made these experiments that completely go with the fundamental mysticism of our Upanishads. Fundamental mysticism, which says, like Krishna said in the Gita, मैं वो हूँ जो हूँ, मैं वो हूँ जो नहीं हूँ, मैं वो हूँ जो था, और मैं वो हूँ जो शायद ना भी था. And then he goes on to explain the fact that everything is a moment of eternity, just the now of eternity. And if you either accept as in your mind, can you accept the narrative of it? Of course, we can all. It's the intellectual narrative, but can you experience it? Can you experience the unity of eternity? That's the issue. But that's where, if you say spirituality, it is, to me, spirituality is not, I'm not there. I've experienced this 2 or 3 times, but in moments, right? So spirituality to me is the yearning for the experience of the unity of all eternity. I know it's a very complicated thing, but I don't know how else to explain
No,
it.
no, I understand it. Yeah, yeah, I do. So, during these experiences, maybe now in these 6 months, did you ever feel that you wanted to move on and like you moved out of your career in chartered accountancy, you were looking for adventure? Are you still looking for adventure? Could be spiritual adventure. Do you want to move out of this phase of filmmaking and being an entertainer now? Did you ever feel that?
Um, I don't know, Sohaila. Nothing is more important than anything. You know, I am as important to the universe as a piece of dust. If in the structure of the whole universe, an ant is taken out, the universe will collapse. If I'm taken out, the universe will collapse. So my presence in the whole scheme of things is nothing but a mere presence and an imagination, a perception. As I'm looking at you through the screen, I'm telling myself a story. You're my sister. I'm perceiving you. I'm perceiving you. But perhaps in the whole, maybe you are not and I am not. And we've just perceived ourselves as individuals. Maybe this is not happening right now. Maybe I've just perceived it. It's all about perception, right? So your question was, what am I planning to do in the future? See, we say a film is a big thing, a hit film is a big thing. But why is it a bigger thing than the idea of an ant moving in a little piece of grass? I often stare at ants, piece of grass, and say, why do I feel Mr. India is bigger than that little ant moving in the grass? It's not. Actually, both are events of their own kind and have no importance in the structure or the eternity of all of the universe. Nothing. There's nothing. We just give ourselves importance because we are overburdening ourselves with the idea of individuality. Why we say, yeah, what's the purpose of life? And I'm saying to myself, it's life itself. And if the purpose of life is life itself, then the purpose of the film is the film itself. The purpose of taking a step forward is the step itself. The purpose of creating, I'm looking out of the window here and I'm seeing a leaf. And why does a leaf not ask itself the same question? The purpose of the leaf is no less important than my purpose. Maybe, and I am the leaf, I am the tree is me. We all are interconnected with the same sense of being, but just because we move and, so many other concepts. So this is getting too complicated and too complex.
No, I understand quite a bit of what you're saying because I remembered I have a very strong memory of being a 3-year-old in Nizamuddin West. And I remember there was a banyan tree right outside behind the street where we lived. And it had
Mm.
beautiful leaves that fluttered in the wind and with the sunshine, it's like the golden sunshine we have today with clear skies in Delhi today. And I remember stopping in my tracks. We used to have our toilets outside in the courtyard and
Mm.
staring at those glimmering leaves shivering in the breeze. And I felt the pleasure of the leaf. I just accepted it as a 3-year-old. And when the memory came back to me, it was a very strange feeling. How did I feel I was the leaf? A 3-year-old. And then my mind told me maybe it is a kind of a meditative state that I entered at that time where the intellect had not developed. And I felt the unity of things. I actually felt the shivering pleasure of the tree, of the leaf which was dancing on the branch with the sunlight glancing off it. I felt its pleasure, and that's what stopped me going to the toilet.
Yeah.
And I also
Well,
remember the full moon over there. It entranced me. Remember, Mummy used to send me to the toilet at night to, punish me sometimes, and I wouldn't eat my food. And
yeah.
I remember doing the same thing, stopping in my tracks, and the huge full moon that would rise above the wall of our backyard, and
Yeah.
I would be entranced. It's a feeling I've often wondered why it didn't come back in one's adulthood.
I'll tell you why. Because when children are born, they're born without prejudice.
Without?
And prejudice,
Yeah.
without a great sense of individuality. And what we do is we teach children to be prejudiced. What we call education is only prejudice.
Yeah.
What we call learning is only prejudice. So we keep teaching them to be more and more. All our education is prejudice. And we keep teaching ourselves and our kids. And I was taught to be prejudiced. Maybe at 24, that's why I wanted to get rid of prejudice. So all children, the birth of a child is the birth of a star, is the birth of a cosmos, is the birth of a neutron star, is the birth of, it's the Big Bang. It's all of that. And as a child's mind will have understood all of that without the idea of knowing what a Big Bang is. But a child's mind senses that there is a universe and I'm part of that and I am not. And we treat the child gradually to be burdened with individuality. And we
And duality.
and duality, yeah, absolutely. उससे आता है ना duality, prejudice से. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of a film script with all these experiences that you've been having, your thoughts on singularity, on quantum physics? Have you thought of a story? Huh?
If a film is not about yearning, and if yearning is spirituality, then every film that I ever made has a yearning to it. So who you are and what you're thinking, it just, in every creative thing that you do, it passes through you. And through, as it passes through you, it passes into what is being created. And I've decided not to use the word what I've created. What was created. And because I was part of the creation of that, so part of me went into that. So whoever I am, whether spiritual or masculine or boring or too intellectual or whatever it is, has seeped into that.
What do you think is the role of ego today? Because there's been a lot of discussion on arrogance and ego, particularly in the context of the film industry these days.
So, there's a creative ego and there's a personal ego. Creative ego is the desire to explore creativity, and that's a very good ego. A personal ego is the great block. The creative ego is like a river that's in constant flow, in fresh and constant flow, and goes deeper and deeper and deeper. That's creative ego. Personal ego is a river dammed and festering.
So creative ego is good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's what you're saying.
A creative ego is the ego of asking questions. A creative ego is the ego of yearning. See, I found 2 new words to say. 3, I found a new phrase. I'll use it in my social media. The ego of yearning is the creative ego.
Right.
Whereas the personal ego is the ego of blocking.
Of?
Blocking.
Blocking.
Blocking the flow.
Yeah.
Dam kar diya river ko. It's like that. It's a personal ego, the ego of blocking.
I think we can call Diya back into the discussion now.
If she's still there, Diya.
We've been chatting for 45 minutes, I think. Is it?
Yes. It's been so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. It has been amazing and so beautiful to hear you both. This beautiful sibling bond. It's so precious. And thank you for sharing it with all of us and being
Thank you for bringing us together, because we've never spoken like this before.
I know, that's what you said. Really beautiful. So, Sohaila, you said that Shekhar had, he was a chartered accountant and then he moved into films. And you said that he was your role model. So, is that why you also moved from journalism into acting? Have you followed his footsteps?
No. Actually, what he said, it just happened to me in high school. I was asked to do a play. I was frightened out of my mind. I remember I froze on stage and forgot my lines. And I almost got kicked by the teacher who was sort of, prompting me from the wings. But then something happened to me and I wanted to do more of it. I just fell in love with the stage. I just felt it fulfilled a part of me. And then I was also learning dancing. And then my mother, who couldn't fulfill her dreams of being a dancer and a singer because they got married early at that age. And the performing arts were really not meant for girls. Girls from middle-class families. She fulfilled that desire by putting me into dance school and music school, and I did theatre on my own. So the 3 arts came together in me and urged me to carry on my love affair with them, and that's how I continued doing theatre, continued learning dancing and music. And when I was one of the 4 people who created Ruchika Theatre Group, was Faisal Al-Qazi's son. Al-Qazi just passed away. Al-Qazi, the great acting master, the maestro. Faisal Al-Qazi, me, and my best friend Malati Khanna, Krishan Khanna, the artist Krishan Khanna's daughter, who's now Malati Shah, and Arun Kukureja. He's a director who's passed away, well-known theatre director in Delhi. We created Ruchika Theatre Group, which is still running after so many years. This must be 40 years now. So it was the love of theatre which never left me. It still compels me. It's like a compulsion. A lot of time, my own brother has told me, a lot of friends, ki kya kamati hai isse? It's a waste of time. Do something where you earn money. So what I started doing, I studied to be a journalist. I became a professional journalist. I joined the Times of India. And उसके साथ जो मुझे salary मिलती थी, I would sink into my theatre endeavors. And that's with me still. These 40 years it's been with me. And maybe because I was an actor and there's all these modern technologies opened up, there was television, there was this, these web serials. I started getting offers for scripts. So that's how I did movies, I did web series. Television, I've just been an anchor. I've never done a tele-serial. So I look at it as an extension of theatre. And I did it on my own. My brother's never done theatre, except once. I think he directed a musical. He directed a musical in Germany and is a producer of Bombay Dreams. He didn't direct it. But I've been an actor and director and producer in theatre for 40 years.
Amazing.
So it was a compulsion, like filmmaking was a compulsion for him. Theatre was and is a compulsion for me.
Yes, and you have a lot of
fans. It just discovered me. It discovered me. That's it.
And you have a lot of fans watching you today. I know that. For a fact.
They must be his fans.
Both. So Shekhar, lots of questions have come in from different members, and I'm going to just take a couple because we are short on time. So yeah. Dr. Moshmi Ghosh is asking.
Because my sister talks too much.
So Dr. Moshmi Ghosh is asking, are you the eternal outsider, or do you feel every moment is a different moment?
Every moment is a different moment. The moment that moment is gone, the previous moment actually is baggage. The previous moment is like a ship in anchor and has forgotten to or is unwilling to let go of the anchor. That's what happens to us all the time. You have to be very conscious that not get addicted to the snapshot that was the previous moment. You look at that snapshot and say, yeah, but it's gone. It's just a snapshot. And you cannot move forward, but because we are addicted to our anchors. So yes, every moment must be a moment that did not exist before the moment. In fact, what I do a lot is when I'm directing, because I'm spending so much of other people's money, and because I have to be aware, so I plan like hell. Every door I walk through, acha aisa hoga, vaisa hoga. But then when I go to the set, I try and panic my mind. Every set I go to, every day I just panic my mind and say, aaj to pakada jayega. Today they'll find you're just a con man, you're not a director. Anything to panic my mind. Or I listen to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan to understand chaos. So that at that moment of saying what the first shot is, I have no idea. Because I do know about creativity is the three most important words I said about is I don't know. So I have to get into the stage after all that planning into the state of I don't know. And then wait for the universe to give me a pointer. That's how you do it. And then I start.
Since you've spoken about directing, Poonam Mota, one of our members, is asking, so when you are directing, do you spoon feed your artists or do you let them use their own creative inputs?
We bounce off each other with a lot of love and trust.
Like a combination.
Yeah, it's a combination. Like with children, I allow them to do what they want and I film what they want because what they do is so much more interesting than what adults do.
True. And Mukul Agarwal, another member, has asked, it's all about perception, which is so beautiful. How would you describe the universe and have you found your purpose?
I found my purpose. It's purposelessness. How can there be a purpose? I mean, what is the purpose of life? People say, is there life after death? And I ask them, is there life before death? If everything is a contradiction, so how can you find a purpose that does not have a contradiction? If there was no death, there would be no life. If there was no Big Bang, there would be. Big Bang was a rebellion against stillness. Everything in the universe, everything in our thought process is a contradiction, a conflict. So then a purpose also has to be a conflict.
True.
There cannot be a singularity of a purpose. There cannot be a singular purpose, because if you have a singular purpose, then you're dead. The only singular purpose is that. So life exists in constant contradiction, constant conflict of purpose. So then I could say the life of a purpose is life itself. Conflict itself is a purpose.
And we'll take a last question from Aditi, and she says, "What does an empty canvas mean to you? What do you feel
Uh,
like when you look at an empty canvas?"
an empty canvas is compulsion. Its
Compulsion.
compulsion is fear, because fear is a contradiction to confidence. An empty canvas, you need a lot of vulnerability, a lot of humility, and a lot of fear. And then finally, the combination of these four words, you put into purpose and you put into courage. And that courage actually allows you to make the first stroke of the brush against the canvas.
Okay. So you've donned many hats. Very well said. Very well said. As you've donned many hats, this is the last question. You've been an actor, a director, a writer, and a producer. Which is the one that you enjoy the most? This is from Shreya.
Oh, that's for me. Sorry, you were
You can,
looking at me, so I was wondering.
you can take that actually because you both donned so many hats.
No, that's for him. Sorry, I thought my mind was wandering. So yeah.
So, I've actually never worn a hat. I've just been through processes that happened. So it's not like, so what is, the question is, what is my next hat, or I've worn so many hats,
Which
or
is the one that
what's,
you've enjoyed the most?
I've enjoyed a sense of being. There's nothing that I've not been afraid of. There's nothing that I've not been in fear of. There's nothing that I've not enjoyed. There's nothing that I've not been creative of. So a combination of all these things. So I can say that I've enjoyed every moment, and I've been afraid of every moment, and I've been glorious in every moment, and at the same time inglorious in every moment. That sort of saying. So our mind is searching constantly for definition, and to define is to confine. And so I am not able to confine myself into say I enjoyed this moment or this hat the most. It just hats after hats after hats as they come at me. And so if I start to ask but yeah, in a very certain way, I enjoy directing the most. Yeah, see, I should have just said that at the beginning instead of just going through the whole circle. Yeah.
Sohaila, what about you?
I enjoy each one of them. I think it's probably genetic. We can't stick with one thing. Yeah, I've been a producer, director, writer, actor. I've enjoyed each one of them. I can't say which one. I mean, I'm involved in whatever I'm doing, complete 100%. So that's me. I can't choose.
And Shekhar, while we've been talking, I've got a text message from somebody, one of my members, saying, "Is there going to be a Pradhan Mantri 3? Is that in the pipeline?"
Yeah, I hope there is. When I did Pradhan Mantri 1, I didn't think anybody would see it because I was told about Indian audiences on television are dumb. And I said, "Chalo, theek hai, thode se paise kama leta hu, koi dekhega to nahi." Then it became this huge hit.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
part of
realized
the
that,
IAS training. It's
I'm
part of
sorry?
the IAS. It's part of the IAS
Yeah,
preparation course for most of the training institutes.
I know.
Amazing. Yeah.
I walked through an airport and everybody said, "Sir, आपके program को हमारे syllabus में आपका program." So now we've just done Pradhan Mantri 2. We actually, today, the creators of Pradhan Mantri called me and said, "What should we do next?" So we're talking about what is next.
I
I mean,
checked it out. It had 32 million views. Pradhan Mantri.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
32
I have
million
to
views.
check this.
Amazing.
Is that a lot?
Sounds like
Yes,
a
it
lot.
is.
Sounds
Quite
like
a
a
bit.
lot.
Oh, okay. Then it's good. Then it's a lot. Yeah.
So we're completely out of time. I'm going to now ask my Vice President, Sumita Roy, to speak to you all and say a few words.
I want to
Sumita?
just make one point.
Yes, of course.
I
Please
never
do.
thought he could speak Hindi so well. I was very impressed when I saw Pradhan Mantri. And I was actually secretly, I was chortling away. Let's see how he comes out with those dialogues. But he did very well.
It's amazing. I watched the corruption episode last night. I said, I must watch it tonight.
Yeah.
I think that Sumitadi is coming on, I think. Sumitadi, do join us. Sumitadi, you have to unmute yourself.
A big thanks to amazing film director, producer Shekhar Kapur and multi-talented Sohaila Kapur for your highly enjoyable conversation between two iconic siblings. Thanks for sharing stories from your rich life experiences. Much appreciated your effort to create social awareness for better today and tomorrow through the medium of cinema. Really grateful to both of you for giving time. Thanks to members. Surely you have enjoyed the program. Thanks media for support. Stay safe. See you soon in the next webinar. Now over to President Diya Jaiswal.
It truly has been such a magical webinar. And the beautiful bond that we have all witnessed between you both is so special, and I think has made all of us smile from the heart today. Thank you once again, Shekhar Kapur and Sohaila Kapur, for being so candid, so open, and so honest. We hope you're going to have the pleasure of having you both in Kolkata in the near future, maybe once the vaccine is out. So, till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we wish you and all our members a lovely weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you all once.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Bye.